I mean, for Bitcoin, still kind of stagnant, still around 29,300. You know, everyone's waiting for the next leg up, right? But this is what's happening right now. When you zoom out and you look at what has happened before and where we are now, perfectly healthy, and we have a long way to go up there. And in terms of, you know, macro view, I mean, just look at it, very similar to some of the previous bottoms. It's not identical, but you could see during those bottoms, yes, we had some horrific times, and then we started recovering, and then we get better days. And as we get closer and closer to having an event, we will have better days for sure. But you know what? Speaking of Bitcoin, now Bloomberg thinks that the chance of a Bitcoin spot ETF, the percentage chance of one getting approved is now 65%. Okay, it was 50%. Now they think it's 65%. Okay, Gary Gensler downplaying his role at the SEC. I don't quite get this commission's tactical approval of Coinbase Bitcoin Exchange. I don't quite get that. Maybe it's them being the surveillance partner or something. But bottom line is, and let's not forget BlackRock. Okay, BlackRock. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons why, you know, the very first Bitcoin spot ETF will get approved in the U.S. There's like 6 pending. Okay, there's 6 pending, and you got to figure like one. You know what? I take that back. There might be 7 or 8, but you got to figure one of them will get approved, right? And it'll be tremendous. It'll be absolutely tremendous. But you know what? We're not just talking about Bitcoin spot ETF anymore. Now, there's asset managers that follow the SEC Ethereum ETF. Ethereum spot ETFs, okay? Which is, I mean, it makes sense because Ethereum is deemed a non-security, right? It's deemed as a commodity. So it makes sense you can have ETFs of Ethereum. Bitwise, Roundhill, Van Eyck, ProShares, and Grayscale, some big players, okay, have filed with the SEC. Although, this is futures, okay? So I take that back. I thought it was spot. No, it's actually futures. So futures will probably get approved, okay? And then they will, excuse me, then they will go for spot ETF afterwards. But you know what? It'll be pretty cool, I guess, to have Ethereum futures ETF. Although I would argue, hey, if you're in a space, then you should definitely just buy Ethereum instead, okay? But, you know, after a spot Bitcoin ETF gets approved, then they'll probably file for Ethereum spot ETFs. But going back to the Bitcoin strategy, you know what? Who made this popular? Michael Saylor. Even though Michael Saylor only came in into the market in 2020, right? So he's not really an OG. I even came in before Michael Saylor, but you got to give him credit. He came in and made a huge purchase, like I think at the time, 250 million or something like that, right? Make a big splash. He's definitely OG in terms of leading the corporate world, institutions, and getting them to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And he, of course, has done most of that, 150,000 Bitcoins on MicroStrategy's balance sheet, right? That is, you got to give him credit for that. He came up with the Bitcoin strategy, and he says that they will continue the course even though Bitcoin ETFs are coming. But take a look at this, right? His Bitcoin strategy. Since August of 2020, MicroStrategy stock is up about 254%. You can see that even is better than Bitcoin and S&P and NASDAQ. And look at all the tech, the big tech companies, right? And even enterprise software. None of them have outperformed MicroStrategy stock nor Bitcoin, right? That is why the Bitcoin strategy works. Short-term volatility, you know, from top to bottom, of course, there are periods where Bitcoin strategy may seem like it's not the best one, but when you stretch it out over long periods of time, you'll realize it is the ultimate strategy. And if you go back to 2017 or 2014 or all the way back, you'll see that, yeah, Bitcoin strategy is the one that you want to be in. ETF race, okay? Not only do we have this, you know, this enthusiasm over Bitcoin spot ETFs, Now we're talking about Ethereum ETFs. There's a lot of talks about getting some Ethereum futures ETFs to come out, right? Then that leads to Ethereum spot ETFs. But ProShares, which is a huge fund manager, and Bitwise now are joining both. Okay, so now we have two kinds of ETFs to look forward to: Bitcoin and Ethereum. And of course, Bitcoin spot ETF, we already have all these big boys, okay, including ARK, BlackRock, Van Eyck, Invesco, Fidelity, Valkyrie. Their final deadline is all before, like basically 1 month before the halving event, with the exception of ARK's. ARK's is 2 months ahead. So if they get the approval, then basically everyone else is going to get approval, right? So if they don't get approval, then BlackRock is next. It'll be interesting. But I'm thinking that if one gets approved, they're all going to get approved. But yeah, this just kind of shows you the big boys that want to enter the space, how much money will be entering the space after these get approved. And soon we're going to have Ethereum ETFs too, right? These are all for casual traders, retail investors, and or institutional investors. I think it's more for institutional investors because when they come in, they're throwing in billions. Well, Plan B summed it up pretty nicely here. Pretty nicely. Not buying Bitcoin now at below 30,000 is not like buying, well, is like not buying Bitcoin when it was below 10,000 in 2019, and not buying Bitcoin, and is like not buying Bitcoin below $500 back in 2015. Right? These are periods when Bitcoin came back up from its bottom and then consolidated for months and upon months upon months. People got discouraged. People didn't trust that Bitcoin was going to go higher. People thought there was doomsayers that kept claiming that Bitcoin was going to fall below again, and all these scary things that was being spewed, right? And then guess what happened? Bitcoin moved forward, and then it formed a new high, and then it kept going, right? It's kind of like right now. We might be going sideways until 2024, but still, this is one of those periods where there's not time to be fearful.